This web show is about just having a discussion. It's called Chat Zion or Chat City. Zion is the biblical name for Jerusalem, the city of cities, and so it's about basically having a conversation. It's a lost art form. It's something we don't do that frequently anymore. It's something we don't do as people. We generally do a bit of a short answer, short question, get in, get out. We don't want to really associate with people. So this web series, for lack of a better term right now, is a discussion about cultural things that are going on, relevant. As we're recording this afternoon, I'll be going to see Avengers, and we may put up a movie review about that afterwards, just to say, hey, this is what we think about it. But everything we talk about is going to have a Christian reference, a Christian perspective. We don't want to Bible bash you, we don't want to hit you over the head, but we do want to say, we are Christians, we live in this world, and we want to say, hey, this is how we live in this world, this is how we choose to be inspired. So we hope that you're inspired as we do these things, and we're welcoming discussion. We're still new, still learning, but we hope you come along with the journey. Come along on the journey with us. I'm glad I'm editing this. So, with that being said, I'd like to welcome our first guest again, and welcome Joe Verani. He's a worship leader at a local church. He's a friend, and I've known him for about 5 years now.
Yeah, 5 years.
4 to 5 years.
Yes.
And I've known his wife for a bit longer. And it's been an interesting journey. Joe's one of the hardest people, the hardest workers I know. He's one of the people that gives without any thought of reward, and that's very rare. And so I guess opening up with you, bro. How you doing this morning?
I'm good, hey. I'm good. I love waking up this morning. I thought to myself, oh, we're gonna do a video today. I thought, man, I can't wait to come. So I woke up in the morning at about 6 o'clock, and I thought, I did my prayer in the morning. I thought, man, I'm gonna go, and this is an opportunity. And I thought to myself, man, I got another YouTube video, and and I love it because I think every journey has to start some way. Every journey has to start some way. I think we look back at 5 years from now, if you're still doing this, and you think, man, we started off like this, and do not despise small beginnings.
Yeah, that's right.
Because this is, and people want perfection. I totally understand it. Perfection is great, but everybody that became perfect in something had to start out somewhere, and I tell myself, all right, I'm going to do YouTube with Jason, collaborate with Jason, and I thought that, in the next couple of years, I'll look back and I think, man, we started something great, and we built from that, and for both of us, it's new to do this. It's new, but this is a step of faith that we will take. And I thought to myself, sometimes you gotta build the ark before it rains, eh? And sometimes you gotta take that step.
That's true. I'll be honest. I couldn't sleep really well last night, and it was probably about 3:30, 4 o'clock by the time that I fell asleep. So by the time you're usually getting up, I'm falling asleep, and I knew I had to be up in 2 hours, and I was like,
And that's what I thought. Oh no, I gotta offer him breakfast because I knew, I had a feeling that you didn't go to sleep last night. I thought I gotta give him breakfast.
It's funny. I left early last night thinking I'm gonna get some good sleep, and I came home, and did not happen. But it's good. It's good being out here, and while you guys can't see the background, we can hear the birds going in the background. We can feel the fresh grass. We can, it's that morning freshness that you don't often get. So how about we'll just start this up with just explaining a little bit about your background. Obviously, we're keeping it a little bit laid back, but telling people what your passions are right now, and where you want to see yourself.
Yeah, for me, I think different seasons, you do different things, but you have one goal in life, and for me, the goal is using what God has given me and using it to the full potential. But depending on the season you're in, for instance, I'm married. I got 2 kids. So at this stage of my life, as much as I want to do a lot of things, my priority in this season is God and family, as my 2 girls are growing up. And for this season, that's my priority. And I know that for the next season, I can begin to do more as my girls start to go to school, as they become more independent. And 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 for different seasons, God teaches you things, and the goal is the same: that bring people to Christ through what He has already given me. And I think for everybody, God has given you different gifts and things to use to bring people back. Um, and that's for me, like at this season, the goal is get people to Christ Jesus. And the amount of people you meet in life, whether it be work or school or university, you connect with these people. And there's a reason for those connections, that you become a source of a lighthouse to other people. Yes, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, that's not. There'd probably be a lot of people out there today going, "That's not as easy to do, bro."
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
Especially in today's world,
Yep.
where the fantastical is a movie element.
Yeah.
I mentioned Avengers just before, but when you've got a god and
That's it.
superheroes, and we've all. A lot of us have seen that shirt, Jesus saying, I'm the greatest superhero kind
That's
of
it.
thing, I saved the world. But the joke is that he's surrounded by people who's all saved the world,
That's it.
And, it's a... Do you find it difficult sometimes combining your faith with the world that you live in?
See, and sometimes it's difficult, like you said. It is, because what Jesus did was 2,000 years ago. And trying to relate something that is a couple of thousand years old to today's world is something it's something difficult. So, what I intend to do is think, man, Jesus lived in a time. So as when the Bible talks about Jesus, it talks about a certain landscape, a certain culture. He talks about olives, Mediterranean. He talked to the people on what was at hand. He talked about giving to Caesar, because at that time Israel was under Caesar's rule, something that the people back then could relate to. And I think for now, we've got a lot of things, like you said, Avengers movie. There are things like that becomes like to us. If you talk to people now, if you talk to them about olives and Caesar, they would say, "Oh, what's that? I don't understand." So I think you've got to know your audience, know the people you're talking to, and do a bit of research. Do a bit of research on what people listen to now, what people are into, because in order to message the gospel now, you've got to be able to understand the crowd you're talking to.
Yeah, I think you also,
Yeah.
we need to be not afraid to put new wine into
That's it.
new wineskins.
That's it.
One of the reasons that we're re-recording this is because the last video we got some questions about. We mentioned a church several times that by name, and people were saying, is this connected to the church?
Yeah.
And while we are not affiliated with any church in any way, the fact is that we're all Christians and that we all go to a church.
Yeah.
And but not everyone that will be helping with production and the back end editing is a Christian. They're friends, they're families that I've brought together for this passion project.
Yeah.
But the reality is that it's new wine. It's different. It's not the same year as it was 5-10 years ago.
Yeah.
If you want to reach the world these days, it's not so much by travel.
Yeah.
Even with work, we're going to the video conferencing than we are. I'm excited about the possibilities, but it also allows the possibility for anyone. We've seen this with news, fake
That's
news,
it.
Facebook, Google.
That's it.
Anyone with a view
Yeah.
to state that view,
Yeah.
and that's a little concerning.
That's it. And like you said, you know, when Jesus preached back then, he used the resources that was at hand back then. We live in an age now where smartphones are in. And you know, no, I don't know if you're still using letters, and no offense to you still using letters, or maybe still sending letters. You know, we got an era of now people doing emails. You know, it's just a touch of a button, and with
Voice recording.
yeah,
It's a lot faster.
and a lot faster. And what I'm saying is, the gospel is still powerful from back then till now, but the strategy has to change. And I don't see anybody still using typewriters now.
Well, I mean, that's New King James. When I growing up, that was the only Bible version available.
And then the thing about Jesus, if you study his life, he used everything that was at his disposal to do something greater, to create miraculous things. And I think the question we gotta ask ourselves is, hey man, what do we have now? You know, I believe if the disciple lives now, they would be so amazed by how much you can message would send to, you know, Paul would send message to Colossians, like just like that, you know, to Ephesus, just like that, you know, hey, Facebook text, you know, Facebook messages.
That's a good point, you know, he's in prison, he's out on the house arrest, so he's just like, hey bro, I just want to let you know,
Yes.
you know, I was still waiting for that trial date.
That's it.
We're just going to get this message out.
That's it.
I'm sending it, no, he's there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's a completely different format.
That's it.
But I've heard before, you know, today is the end of the lone wolf scenario. You know, it's becoming a bit of a team.
That's it.
A team thing. You can't do anything alone
Yeah.
anymore. And yet we're in a day of social interaction where it's each individual's perspective, point of view. And I know a challenge for me is everything we do.
Yeah.
You know, we mentioned Star Wars in the last video, and we got some feedback, and the feedback was all Star Wars and Christian. Just you know, it doesn't go hand in hand.
That's it.
Today I'm wearing
Superman.
I'm actually not wearing Superman. I watch a YouTube show by Collider, Movie Trivia Schmodown. This is one of their teams. You know, it's a YouTube personality. I'm wearing a shirt.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out where the dragon came from, and I'm pretty sure Superman didn't have a dragon.
This is actually Wolves of Steel. Superman with wolves.
That's something new.
Yeah, and a shout out. It's copyright. This is that's Collider Movie Trivia Schmodown. If you want to go watch that, that's if you got movie trivia.
That's it.
That's a good one. But you know, I suppose there is days like that. Everything could be a copyright. Everything could be a sales pitch.
That's it.
Is that often? You've got two daughters.
Yep.
Growing up in today's world, you know, it's already difficult enough keeping up with technology now. They're going to be growing up using it.
That's it.
But you know, does it ever concern you, being a father, and knowing that your daughters could be in one day, you know, virtual reality worlds, and not living?
Yeah. And you know, for me as a dad, because I grew up in a different, I grew up in Fiji, which is we're still a bit behind. So
I'm sure they don't feel that they're a bit behind when they're in Fiji.
Yeah, and you know, I grew up in a different culture, so the things we did were different, you know, and you know, my daughter's being raised here in Australia. It's totally different culture, and for me to learn what ways would work for them when they grow up, that they would understand. So I think for me, let me say this, like, I want to, before I tried to go to my daughters and tell them what to do and not, I tried to research about their generation, you know, and you do it with youth groups, you know. You can't bring something that is 1980s to the youth now. You gotta know your audience and say, hey, what does youth like now?
Well, you can, because there's a bit of a retro feel right now.
And I said, what kind of things do they listen to now? Because I remember when you were doing youth group, that I would try to do something that is of a couple of years ago, and the young people would say, what's that?
And yet, I remember doing a youth group with our now senior pastor,
Yeah.
and he would use Dragon Ball Z, and which, you know, Japanese anime, martial arts, a lot of Christians would have an issue with this. And yet,
Yeah.
it connected
Yeah.
to so many.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. You obviously have a great passion for music. I mean, I know when we watched I Can Only Imagine together, he had tears in his eyes. He doesn't get tears in his eyes, you know. But, you know, you have such a passion for music.
Yeah.
How does that? Because you obviously work in a bit of a different field.
Yeah.
Worship leader by night, and by Sundays by day.
Yeah.
But then, you know, through the rest of the week, you know, you're working in a bit of a production line kind of thing. So how does that? I've got a friend who sings while he's on his production line. How does that work for you?
Like, you know, I just people know, like, we have music playing all the time, and I think music has become something, you know, something that God has made natural for me. You know, there are things that in life where people have to work hard on, and music is something that just came to me. Like, I think God gave it to me, and music has played a big part, because I think out of stuff that I went through in life growing up, it is music. God spoke to me through music, you know, and it could be a verse of a song, and it just, you know, it just blows my mind. I could listen to a verse of a song, and I will keep on repeating the verse in my mind. It's like a message, you know. You know, God is great. God is great. God is great. Something like that. You know.
It's interesting you say that with the, you know, obviously we both have a passion for
Yeah.
older songs.
Yeah.
And I know whenever we're on team together, there's that whole, let's play this old song. Do you remember this one? Do you remember that one? And obviously we want to stay relevant.
Yeah, that's it.
But, you know, I actually have this, you know, I know we both agree that, you know, sometimes the older stuff is just as good, if not better, because it's so old that it's new again.
Yeah.
You know, you can do it.
Yeah, that's
but,
it.
Yeah, I think, especially today, living as a Christian male, you know, there's that, you know, living in Australia, we've got so much freedom, and yet, I think right now the Christians in Australia are starting to understand persecution, just a little, just a little. And if there's any Chinese viewers out here, we haven't got anywhere close to your persecution. But we're starting to understand what freedom of speech really is.
That's it.
And how blessed we've been as a country. We're also starting to understand that we've got to take a stand.
That's it.
And I know for you, coming from Fiji, where you could just be yourself. And we've talked about this before, you know, that when you're in Fiji, you just say it. They don't get offended. They just go, okay, bro, let's, you know. Whereas in Australia, where 20 years ago, just 20 years ago, before 9/11, this would have been the school of hard knocks over here.
That's it.
And yet now you can offend people so easily. I don't know, that's really affected your life in the last few years, trying to navigate those kind of issues. But yeah, I think it's a different world. And
it is a
I think one of the purposes, the real purpose of these videos is to really go, you know, we understand it's not easy being a Christian. It's not easy working with animals.
That's it.
Like that one. He's checking us out. And, you know, it's not easy today being a man, living God's standard, where you're in God's house, the authority.
That's it.
And today with women's rights, which I totally approve of, and women having a voice, which again we totally approve of, but still needing that, knowing that God holds us responsible as men.
That's it.
That's
it.
Yeah.
I think over the responsibility of a man now the benchmark of being a man that the world wants is right up there. You know, you got to be a father at home. You know, you got to be a provider. Back in the days, you were a good father if you only wept and provided for the family. Now, as a man, it's you have to provide for your family. You have to the emotional well-being of your wife and your kids. The standard of what a man is, the world has put a benchmark. To be a great man, this is what you got to provide for your family. The emotion, and you know, back in the days, to be a great man is to go have a job, provide for your family, and that was it. And society now has put a big benchmark on the men that you now, and and I realized back. For instance, one of my relatives told me, he said, you know, my dad never used to, were not allowed to um, to do any changing of nappies. That was just, this was just in the 1960s.
I know a lot of ladies
Yeah.
that wouldn't want guys changing their
Yeah,
nappy.
and back then it wasn't the thing. Men were not allowed to do that. So men stand. You just had to go to work. You know, you didn't have to change the nappies. Now, as a man, there's much higher expectation now than ever. You would have to provide for your family. You got to be there for your kids, which is great. And I think the world, and I think that's probably why now it is harder.
And yet, it's strange because again, biblically, the man was to train his kids,
Yeah,
teach his kids
yeah,
to bring them up in the ways of the Lord. Which, let's be honest,
yeah,
biblically they messed up
yeah.
over and over and
That's
over
it.
again.
Yeah.
And Jesus has allowed us to have a personal relationship.
That's it.
But even then,
Yeah,
a lot of us take it as a personal relationship, and
Yeah.
we don't even share those struggles with our kids or
That's
with
it.
our, you know. I remember my father taught me so much, but I remember going up to him and I said, "I don't know anything about your life," and he's like, "You haven't asked the question."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "I don't know the questions to ask. You need to share," you know.
Yeah,
And it is, he's one of those older
yeah,
generational men who doesn't open his mouth
yeah, yeah.
and doesn't share, and
Yeah.
that's a good thing. We're getting the new generations that are starting to go, "Yep, no,
Yeah.
we want to share, we want
Yeah,
to speak,"
that's it.
but it is a bit of a culture difference.
That's it. And you realize because back then, to be a man is, hey, suck it up, boy. You know, the dad just suck it up, boy. You know, don't say anything. You know, get your hands out of your pocket. What? Do you have $1 million in your pocket? Things like that. They were taught. They came from a generation where, after the world wars, many people joined the army. So either your grandfather went to war, and so they treated the men like, I mean, hey, you're not a sissy, mate. You know, things like that. You know, you're not a, grow up. You know, you gotta, they were taught like soldiers. So they would.
Well, they joined the war at 16, some of them 15.
Yeah,
Today's Anzac Day
yeah,
in Australia, and we were talking about, your family was in
Yeah.
the wars. Both my grandparents served.
Yeah.
My father served,
yeah,
and my brother recently just got out of I believe, a 12-year deployment.
Yep.
It, 12 years of serving.
Yep.
It's I was talking about this with a friend of ours, Rose,
Yeah.
and we were talking about her son and I like to play World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, how does that deal with your spiritual life? And I said, well, it's strange, but when I'm fighting,
Yeah.
it's kind of like even though I'm not physically putting, because look, physically that just comes to you blessing, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
me, it doesn't come. But when I'm putting those energies into fighting, there's a certain satisfaction.
That's it.
And she was saying that it's a great great misery that men have stopped being allowed to go to fight.
Yeah.
That we see kids fighting, we jump on them.
Yeah.
Because boys need to
Yeah.
tussle. They need
That's
to.
it.
I remember wrestling with my father and my uncles and my grandparents, and trying to get them on the ground. And eventually, when I was old enough, they were like, "No, I can't do it anymore." But when do you think we became such a?
I think as society progresses, I think we've allowed, because like, to be honest, the men back then didn't have video games. You know, they were limited resources, so the only option they had was to go outside. You know, was to go outside, play outside, and which was good. It made them tougher. You know, and you know, and like I said, you know, the expectation of men is just going up every single time. You look at Women's Weekly, Men's Weekly, you know, it says this is what a great man to be. You know, this is what a man now should be.
Those Taylor Lautner abs.
Yeah.
Chris
And,
Hemsworth.
Yeah, you know, you gotta have the 6 abs, but and that is what the world wants us to think. You know, that hey, to be a man, you gotta have this.
Perfect Adam and Eve representation.
That's it.
It's funny how we keep coming back to the biblical references
That's
because I mean they are everywhere.
That's
we
it.
still have that perfect Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
But you know, obviously we don't have her. But I remember the first time we did a video was just before we went and saw Ready Player One, which Steven Spielberg's latest film. Great film for those who are gamers. I think I know that because I was sitting in a row with 3 gamers and Joe. And Joe's sitting there going, meow, meow, it's over his head.
But I enjoyed it.
But he enjoyed it. But I also remember watching Star Wars with you, and you were going pretty much the way you did. You fell asleep.
I fell asleep, sorry.
Which is, there's nothing to apologise for. You know, it's not everyone's cup of tea. But I remember the reason you were so excited is because you watched Rogue One, and it was like, wow. But it's funny, because again, it's war.
Yeah.
And I remember watching, you know, Saving Private Ryan, and being drawn to it, even though I was so inside wanting to throw up with all the grittiness of war.
Yeah.
I was still being drawn to it. I didn't want to avoid it, even as a 14, 15-year-old.
Yeah.
Yes, I was 15 years old when that came out. 13 maybe. It's a long time ago. But yeah, we obviously don't have all day to chat.
Yeah.
And although I know we can.
Yeah.
We do have a timeline, but I want to thank you for coming and spending the morning with us, and I know we'll both love the opportunity to do this again. But yeah, thank you for joining us today.
It's been great. It's been great, and like for me, when I came here this morning, I thought, man, this is great. This is a stepping stone to bigger things, you know. And if you can see it that way, these are stepping blocks to bigger things. And
absolutely, definitely, I can't wait for bigger things. But you're right.
Yeah.
Those who serve well with the small, they're the ones that get given the bigger stuff.
Yeah.
So we're going to serve well, we're going to do our things, but you know, for those of you who have sat through all of this discussion, I want to thank you. You know, there used to be a saying when people were speaking God's word or speaking about God that you paid attention, and that's not the case today. So for those of you who watched through to the end of this video, I just want to give a special shout out and thank you. You know, leave your thoughts in the discussion. Ask us questions. Ask us questions about what you'd want to be answered, or maybe you've been thinking, I don't know about this in today's world. How do I teach my children this? How do I speak God's word to my friends, to my families? Maybe you're a new Christian and you want to just, you don't know how to share with your friends, which is difficult. You and I were talking about this the other day. It's not always easy. And some of us make it look easy. I remember 2 weeks ago sitting in a conversation, having a conversation, and you know, the conversation came up, and you were like, "Should we share? Should we invite this person to church?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It's kind of like, "Why? Of course." But it's not easy. It's not easy, and I've seen people not want to pray, and I've seen people not want to share, and they're Christians. They have a heart for God, but you don't want to get in trouble in today's political correct world. So if there's any of those questions you want to ask, send them through to chatzionmail@gmail.com. I know that's a bit of a mouthful, so chatzionmail@gmail.com, and or just leave it in the comment section. Feel free to share this on Facebook with your friends. You know, for all those of you who watched the last video, you got 90 views, and for a first video, that's actually pretty impressive. I know people that started with 1, 3, 5, 90 views is